Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. Let's take another look here at Bitcoin, see what's going on. As expected, we got that rejection off that resistance range of about 102,000. Super glad we waited to take our short position because again, I was mentioning 99 to 102K as a potential area of consideration for a short. Good news is we took some, I wouldn't say massive profit, but we got in at 101.5 down to 99.9, and we took about 15-16% there. So that was about a 4-hour trade, nothing to write home about, but nothing crazy either. Just standard, kind of trading there. So just kind of letting you know that's kind of what we did as a community. Am I going to hold that short open forever? We already secured majority of profits, so probably not. Shifting gears a little bit more towards long positions, and I'll explain why in this video, why I feel that is the case. Now, at this point, we have this, just this bullish type of pattern. Keep in mind, this guy here is like a descending type of pattern, but it's generally bullish because it breaks out to the upside. Okay, now we're a long ways away from that. This is more of a macro structure, but generally speaking, that's like a bullish, descending, broadening wedge, if I'm not mistaken. That's essentially what we're seeing here. So if we break above that larger descending trend line, we're going to be in pretty good shape to see further upside. We're a few days away from that likely, but at this point, we got to see how the price action is going to hold in this range. And so far, we're doing pretty decent at this $99,000 range. But either way you look at it, we're going to look at some back-end data, kind of see what's going on, get some objective views here, and not to attach any type of bias here. Because again, whenever I consider shorting or taking longs, these are usually going to be smaller to medium size holds. In other words, I'm not going to be holding, a short position open from 102,000 to, I'm not going to try to take that down to the low 80K range. Even though it's a small probability with this extra large liquidation range at about 85K, we got to presume that we may not see that level, and it would make more sense for the price action to sweep upper ranges of liquidation first. So let's talk about that here. First of all, last 7 days of liquidation, we can kind of see there's a pretty big chunk starting to form here at the 102 to 104K range. So that should be the next potential area of consideration. Keep in mind there are some late longs here at about 97 to 98K range, easy to remember. Those are heavy longs, so unfortunately those will be targeted a lot of times. So try not to be that ridiculous person that takes a super high leverage trade, because again, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. Again, we do low leverage, low position size. That 15% profit we took from Bitcoin, which isn't monumental, it's only a 10x leverage trade. I only 5x leveraged altcoins too. So just friendly advice, in 20 plus years of trading, if you're ever going to use leverage, it carries more risk. The higher the leverage, the more risk. And in turn, if you want to lower your risk, what do you know? You use lower leverage. So please, 5x leverage or less. Let's start a fad. Let's start something amazing with responsible trading for a change. It seems like everyone else is promoting otherwise. Anyways, from a macro perspective, again, there's still a lot of liquidation on the downside, but we're far enough away from it where it doesn't matter too much. It's more these smaller plays here that we're starting to see. So we either see a quick little sweep of that 97K range for a bounce off that 97.5 estimate, and then of course a run towards a 103 to 104 range. I'm leaning a little bit more towards price going up. Again, based on what we're seeing on the charts, not necessarily what we're seeing here on the back end. But again, we have more, if we take a look here at the overall sentiment, we have more people taking longs than shorts at this point, which is generally a favorable sign, right? We want to make sure to recognize that. And we take a look here as well, we look at open interest, we can see a lot of positions here between 94, 96, and 98. Pretty safe to assume that each one of those $2,000 marks is a heavy concentration of interest. And what that does, that implies more sustainability above that level, right? Because again, people are interested in that level. They're going to try to save their trades. The price go down, add to their position. You'll generally see open interest be somewhat of a support. Now, when we kind of zoom out here and we kind of look, let's go ahead and go on the daily. Let's remove a few of these indicators. It got quite a few on. And just kind of recognize here that from a macro scenario, 97,000 is still that point of control, okay? 96.9, 97,000 roughly. So the price does pull back a little bit further. Decent chance we're going to see some support. And even though we saw a pretty decent amount of sell-off here, right? Pretty aggressive candle wick from yesterday and the day before, we can see here that we still have yet to close below 97,000. So again, I'm still moderately bullish on Bitcoin as long as we remain above that level. Keep in mind, we're right here at the 50-day SMA. We're still below the 20. We're not like in a situation where it's like, we're breaking bullish and it's like, take everything you got and put it in Bitcoin. It's not one of those situations. I don't think we're going to be in that position for a while personally. But regardless of that fact, we are right here at 50 at the RSI, retest that and essentially rejected, but today's candlestick isn't closed yet. We got money flow index right at that 30 level. Generally speaking, when you have a low MFI, people are willing to buy. It's just kind of one of those things where, you know, the money's flowed away from this coin for so much money's coming out, people are interested in buying again, right? That's generally what that's telling us here. Either way you look at it, I would say we're neutral to bearish on the daily time frame. It's not phenomenal, but it's still not breaking bearish, if that makes any sense. So the 4-hour time frame is where usually you kind of see those transitions occur. So to be frank, I mean, we're still below the 200 and the 50-day SMA, right? Those are pretty good trendsetters. Again, closing at 102 or higher is what I've mentioned previously, is a very important sign. Between now and then, though, we can see here that we're above the 50-day SMA. We're also above our VWMA, which is our volume weighted moving average. Something I've always used previously. I'm going to start using it in my charts a little bit more. I use that for confirmation too, on more so the 4-hour time frame, for just generally where you're at in the trend. So with us being above that level, and then over also above the cloud as well in the hourly, we have a pretty decent situation here forming with a shift in momentum. Keep in mind, we're not over 50 in the RSI yet, but money flow index is reflecting that. And we can see stochastic and MACD kind of shifting up here, shifting gears. So from a momentum standpoint, we're trying to shift bullish, but we still haven't broken it by any stretch because we don't want to be above 100 to 102K at the very least. So I would say a daily candlestick closure of 100,000 or higher would be beneficial, preferably 102K or higher to give us that, you know, we're back on track scenario. Once again, that would basically just imply that we need to close above this local high. Okay, now we take a look here. This is somewhat of a bullish type of pennant pattern. Again, patterns are only patterns until, they're only patterns specifically you want to pay attention to if the overall trend is moving in that direction. Technically, the macro trend is down, but the hourly and the 4-hour time frame, the trend is up. So from a smaller time frame perspective, it would make sense for the price to break up at least shortly, for a short while perhaps, or in the relative near future for that regard. And again, the reason why I feel that way is because we are right here with the cloud. We're above the cloud. The inversion line's over the baseline. While the lagging span is soon to intersect, we have a little bit more of an important factor here. So again, I'm not going to try to convince myself to take a trade here. I generally don't do that. So I want you to know that I'm not biased towards Bitcoin going up or down, but I can tell you based on what we see here so far, smaller time frames, we have like a 55, 60% probability of Bitcoin going higher than we do going much lower. If we do go lower, keep in mind a quick wick down to that 97.5 would seem sensible, considering that's a liquidation range. And a lot of folks will put their liquidation level is going to be right there at that point of control, that open interest area where all the liquidation occurs. So again, wouldn't be the worst thing ever if the price pulls back a little bit further. It could even be the beginning of a bullish type of flag pattern, because a lot of flag patterns will start like this here, right? Again, push up, hit the resistance range, start to establish lower highs and lower lows, and then bounce off a key level support, which we've already reaffirmed here is at 97.5 to like 98K range. So not surprised if the price pulls back a little bit further, but I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but I really don't think we're in dire straits either. Okay, so it's one of those weird transitions. You're probably best waiting to take a trade with. But when it comes to altcoins, I feel like altcoins are going to start to stabilize here soon. We do got to pay attention to Bitcoin dominance because it's still maintaining fairly high. So money is still flowing into Bitcoin and coming away from altcoins for the moment. But that paradigm shift does change eventually. So we'll pay attention to that. All right, folks, that's all I got. Sorry for a long one here today. Hope that made sense. I described it correctly. I'll have a playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord here shortly. It's all available here for you if you're curious. It looks a little something like this. All right, folks, hope you have a good one. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.